Welcome back to another episode of My Trauma is Chronic, but I'm Iconic. In today's podcast episode, it's all about empowering the youth for today and the incredible journey of a social entrepreneur. I couldn't be more excited to introduce you to our special guest today, the amazing Louise Lyons-Appiah. Louise is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to making a positive impact in the world. She's a young and aspiring social entrepreneur who has achieved some truly impressive things, from creating BreatheUnion, a game-changing initiative for 3 universities, to being recognised as a finalist for Young Activist of the Year 2022. Louise's accomplishments are truly awe-inspiring. In this episode, we'll dive deep into Louise's journey, exploring her passion for her social enterprise and the incredible work she's done to empower young people. So get ready for an engaging and enlightening conversation that will leave you truly inspired and motivated to make a difference. So without further ado, let's jump right in and learn more about the remarkable Louise Lyons-Appiah and her incredible achievements. Hello.
Hey.
So how's your week been, or like weeks since we've spoken?
Yeah, they've been good. I've been just yeah, had a lot of work to do, to be honest. So just been doing that, which has been fun, lots of different types of projects and things. Um, which is good. Just yeah, January's been very busy, so I've had some downtime as well.
Oh, that's
This week,
good.
yeah, this weekend's looking, I got some work to do today, but yeah, it should all die down near the end of February.
Yeah. I wish I could say the same. I feel like I say that every single month.
Yeah, that's true, to be fair. I do say that every single month and then something pops up. So, yeah.
How did your journey as a young person in the field of social enterprise begin?
So, started around 2020. So I was at university studying history and politics, um, in the first year of the pandemic, which was a lot for me. I was already having anxiety just going into kind of first year of university and lots of changes happening in my life. And um I feel like I was quite unprepared for the big changes. I was always told, university is going to be so amazing and you're going to love everything. But yeah, I think it was just a lot for me, to be like out of my comfortable environment that I'd been in for so many years. And then during the summer of 2020, um, everything happened with George Floyd, and the world kind of started talking about race relations in their different contexts. But I think because we were getting so much from like an American perspective, me and my family decided that we wanted to talk about like that from a like a UK perspective, like a being like Black and British from lots of different perspectives. So um yeah, me and my brother got some family members together to do a podcast and that we just uploaded to YouTube, just talking about the different things that we'd experienced and what it was like to be back in the UK, and kind of I brought in some historical kind of information as well, just from what I'd been studying at university. So that was really like my first kind of glimpse into the world of social enterprise, just by doing a podcast that was about kind of social issues. And then me and my brother decided to like kind of start doing that more regularly, like every week doing a podcast on a different kind of topic. And he'd also decided to, um, so he did a master's in engineering and he decided to change what he was doing. So he went into the city to do like fintech. He decided he wanted to do a psychology master's because that's what he was really passionate about. And he started like a peer support group called Breathe Uni at University of Westminster, um, which was just some psychology students basically talking about um what they were going through, and like just having weekly kind of sessions to talk about this. And it was it was kind of there that sparked all of this, because they had started like making an Instagram posts and like blogs and things like that, and like talking to charities, um and they actually needed someone to speak about their mental health journey on a Channel 4 documentary. But they were all a bit older. They wanted kind of more from a younger perspective. So my brother asked me if I could do that, and I was like, well, I guess I could. I speak about myself and my interests and my life on this podcast. So maybe I could do that on national TV. So I did do that. That was really cool. Um, and I got to know like my brother's friends from his university, and he was like, we should do this like at more universities, and we should make this a thing, and like we should open this up to like more students across the country. So we decided to like formalize Breathe Uni into an initiative so it had three pillars: mental health, equality, diversity, inclusion, and personal development, because those were things that were really important to us, and it kind of allowed for like intersectionality when it came to speaking about different issues around mental health. So we set up societies at University of Birmingham, University of Nottingham, and University of Westminster. Um, yeah, and it was really amazing. We like trained up students to lead workshops on topics that they were interested in. We did like events that corresponded with different social issues, like for Black History Month, or like Movember and things like that. And yeah, it was just a really great opportunity to kind of find out more about the space and like partner with different organizations and charities, get to know more people in my university as well. So I was doing that. It was now 2021. I was in my third year of university, and I just realized this was something I was so passionate about, and it felt weird to just let it go. Like I was like, I don't like I've created this whole initiative pretty much from scratch with like loads of people, obviously, but surely that means I could do this like as a career. Like, didn't have to just be a passion project. Um, so I went on a business incubator with my university when I left, and I started freelancing as well in the space for different organizations, getting my own like clients and opportunities as well through the network I had kind of amassed through starting this initiative. So yeah, that's how it all started, from kind of passion project into now like a career.
Can you share some of the challenges you faced whilst establishing BreatheUnion?
Yes. So um not having any experience like setting something up, um trying to like have the confidence to be like lead like a group of people, and also have the confidence to reach out to organizations and just be like, hey, this is what we're doing. But the more and more I did that, the more and more comfortable I felt doing that. And I was like, oh wait, like people actually are like really interested in students and what they have to say, like once you get the word out there. But yeah, the challenge was probably like the initial confidence and like um communication, and then also like um just like the fear and anxiety and kind of imposter syndrome. Because was I never really thought I was anything special. Like I never thought I was gonna do much in life. I was just like, I'm just such an average person, so I'm just gonna do something really average, and like, yeah, I didn't really think much of myself. So when I started to do this and people started to notice, and I started to be like, oh my God, like I can actually do something. There was that anxiety of like, what if this all falls apart, and like, then what does that say about me? And maybe I really am like nothing special, and so I think there was that fear as well.
It feels like BreatheUnion, like, in the long term, did a lot for, your self-esteem. How hard was it to be like, you know what, this is just my mind speaking and trying to put me down, but I can actually do it.
I think I realized it, but it was still like, even though like I'm quite a self-aware person, that doesn't mean that I necessarily had the tools to be like,
Mm.
okay, well now I know that it's my mind, like I can kind of have control over my emotions. Like it definitely wasn't there yet. It was just sort of like no, I have there's a podcaster I watch, like the channel's called Modern Wisdom, and he always has this quote around kind of like thinking about what you've actually done, like the kind of evidence and the proof that can tell you like, you are who you actually are, and you can do this. and like what is it? Yeah, an undeniable stack of proof. And although I had that undeniable stack of proof to be like, I can actually do this, again, my mind was just those negative thoughts were there, and that was really difficult. It was a lot of crying, a lot of panicking, a lot of anxiety. But I also had people around me, like my brother, who was my co-founder, my boyfriend, who knew like a lot about kind of meditation and things like that. So I was able to use those sorts of techniques and like yoga and things to help me kind of deal with everything I was facing, and kind of help me take a bit more control over my like outlook. Um, and I think during that time I was very much um like uncertainty is kind of exciting. Like I kept saying that to myself to like kind of buffer all those negative emotions, because like, sort of like the world is your oyster, and uncertainty is like is good, and it doesn't have to all be like figured out. Like a year ago, I didn't think I'd be here. So like, where will I be in a year? Like that's actually exciting. Hopefully I'll be better than I was. And now I can look back and be like, yeah, that's true. So yeah.
How did you manage to engage and involve the student community in Breathe Union's initiatives?
Um, so it just my friends, it started with my friends. So as I said, my friends started her like she set up BreatheUnion at Nottingham University. So yeah, she was my best friend. The other person was my brother. So it was good to connect with them. And then they had students who they knew, and like, so that was easier. And then from my perspective at Birmingham, again, I just like used my friends who I already knew, to then get their friends involved. And I was also able to connect with a lot of other societies as well, like Psychology Society and a society called Educate, and just like using that to my advantage, like knowing that there were other students out there who had already been in groups, so I knew that they were already interested in this sort of thing, like to partner up with them on like events and workshops with things like that. So it was very much just like using the network I already had and like building it out from there, and finding people who I thought, yeah, they probably have an interest in what we're going to be talking about.
What specific impact has Breathe Union had on the student community at these universities?
Well, I think like in terms of the societies, like the students, it was able to help in terms of like the committee, like building people's confidence. I know someone who he was on the committee, and then he was able to be accepted to teach first because of his experience with that. Um, I have testimonials as well, but just like building people's confidence in themselves, um, and also like building those sorts of like friendships, because I brought people together who like just didn't know each other. And then they actually became friends through the kind of conversations we were having as well. And then just um yeah, just being able to share that safe space. And we were also able to um create a program for year 10 students at a school that was partnered with the university. So that also gave like a knock-on effect of having students at university then like making an impact on students who were in high school. So yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
With the self-doubt and stuff like that,
Mhm.
were there any unexpected positive outcomes or success stories that emerged from Breathe Union's initiatives that you're like, okay, this has given me a rush or like a reason to keep going with the work that I'm doing?
Um, yeah, so I remember when I was leaving Birmingham, and I was like, how is this going to continue without like me kind of steering the helm? And I remember near the end of the term, we had some like first year students coming along, and just like seeing them go to one session and be like, this is actually really great, and like getting really involved. I was actually able to approach one of them and be like, do you want to continue this? And at first she was like really apprehensive. Her name's Anna. But when she came back to like more sessions, and when I sat down with her, and like she realized that she was able to like look at me and be like, oh, this is what she does on the day to day. And she was able to look at the community and be like, this is actually something that, I'd want to continue, and I want to have these conversations more and more. So like being able to leave that legacy as well um was really important to me and made me think like, yeah, like this was actually great, and like it's so great that someone actually wants to continue it um on, which was really good. And yeah, we had someone who was doing like a placement course at University of Westminster, and like she was able to kind of pass that module through her experiences um at kind of BreatheUnion as well, which again made it easier to kind of continue. And we're getting lots of like students' testimonials telling us like how important it was to them. So yeah, it was pretty easy to continue when you realize like how many students were actually benefiting from it.
How did you measure the success of Breathe Unions in terms of its impact on students' well-being?
Um, yeah, that's like a really hard question. Again, like I wasn't very um well versed in like measurement impact or anything. Like this was something that um we were trying to do, but it didn't really get very far. We were just basically the idea was to get kind of testimonials. Um and yeah, that was how we showed kind of the impact. So we did like we made like a presentation which had like pictures of the events that we put on, like again like the testimonial from that student from Westminster that I shared with you, and yeah, kind of the numbers we'd impacted it in the school that we were able to go to. So yeah, that's kind of how we measured the impact.
Amazing. Did you face any resistance or skepticism from universities or students when introducing Breathe Union?
Um, there was resistance only from like the student unions because of the nature of the society. They were like, oh, is this too similar to like some like and another mental health society or something like that? And we were trying to show the uniqueness of it, of the three pillars being mental health, equality, diversity, inclusion, and personal development. So there was that resistance of like, oh, is this just another mental health society that's not going to be any different?
Can you elaborate on the collaborative efforts that went into establishing a Breathe Union across multiple universities?
Yeah. So in the summer of 2021, um it was just like a lot of Zoom calls, um contacting who we knew from the universities in terms of students, kind of like interviewing them to see if they wanted to be in the committee, um and then contacting people we knew through like emails we could find of other university contacts, whether they were in like the staff team or whether they were in the student unions, and literally just setting up meeting after meeting, being like, this is the idea we have, like, do you want to join us? How can you help with that? And again, the same of we had just the most brilliant students then emailing like charities and organizations that they thought could help give us like free resources and stuff. Um, and getting in touch with them and being like, again, this is like a student, we've managed to corral this many students, like please can you help us, sort of thing. So yeah, it was just like collaborative from day dot. It was never just like me at all. It was me and my brother like being amazing, his just creative genius and ability to get people involved, and then like just so many people like being like, yeah, this sounds like a really great idea, I'd love to get involved. So yeah, it was really, really collaborative.
How did you ensure that Breathe Union's initiatives cater to the diverse needs and interests of students?
Just by again collaborating with um different societies and like always getting that input from the student union. And so when you collaborate with societies with certain like um interests or agendas, and then you also get students to kind of lead talk conversations or lead events themselves, then you're already getting that like diverse perspective, because it's not just one person setting the agenda, it's like having the whole community being like, this is what we want from this society.
Did you encounter any like specific challenges or opportunities unique to each universities when implementing BreatheUnion?
Yeah, so it was more just like setting them up as societies. Obviously, that's different from every university. So some were easy, like Westminster was quite easy. Nottingham took a lot of time, and but again, it was able to be set up as a society, and then Birmingham took ages, because of so many complications, like I said, with like trying to understand how we were like unique and different to other societies.
How did you manage to like secure funding and resources for both unions, projects, and activities?
Um, no funding. Well, there was like an initial bit of tiny funding for kind of Jeremy to have like the role, because he wasn't actually a student anymore by the time that we kind of started everything. He was working. But there wasn't really much funding, which is why we partnered with charities to be able to give us free resources. And our last event that we did, or like a major event that we did it in collaboration with societies at Birmingham, and we were able to secure funding through the student union to put on this event. But yeah, other than that, it was just sort of the resources from the organizations we partner with.
What were the specific charities that you partnered with that contributed to the success of BreatheUnion?
So it was the Ollie Foundation, which is a suicide prevention charity. We partnered with Beyond, which is a youth mental health charity. Um, who else? So a company called Everything Diversity and Inclusion, which is a organization that help like ethnic minority students um like get into kind of top careers within different industries. As well, we were able, I think it might have been through the Ollie Foundation actually, we were able to secure some training from Mental Health First Aid England, which was really cool. Um so yeah, quite a few different organizations, all within the interest of helping students.
What role do you see BreatheUnion playing in the broader landscape of social entrepreneurship in universities?
In terms of like what I learn, it's like having set that up, it's really put me in a good position to being able to communicate with different organizations, being able to like appeal to the younger cohort of people, like whether it's, yeah, so mainly students, um but being able to have kind of a diverse understanding of all the different things that are affecting young people right now, and being able to have those conversations in like a really safe and interactive way. um which is why when I left, I really did want it to become an initiative that, would go into schools and universities, and we'd train people to be facilitators and put on workshops like we were doing at the university. Unfortunately, it hasn't gone that far, really, mainly because it's really just me now, and I um haven't got the capacity to implement that right now, but I think someday in the future, because the bones are there. So yeah.
What advice would you give to other young individuals who are passionate about creating a social impact in their communities?
Find people that you trust and that are as passionate as you to help you along your journey. Because it can be really, really hard, again, with all the self-doubt and all the commitments that people have as individuals. So finding people to help you along the way. Um, go for it. Like, the worst thing you can ever hear is a no. If you're trying to get in touch with an organization, you're thinking, oh, they're going to judge me, or they're going to think I'm just like, a student who doesn't know anything. Like, no, ignore those thoughts. People actually are so excited to hear from young people, and be so impressed by like pretty much anything that comes out of your mouth. So just have that confidence to go for it, and yeah, always, if you're thinking about social impact, just find something that you are passionate about. Find something that you would spend your whole time doing for free. That's what I think.
How do you balance your role as a social entrepreneur with other commitments such as your studies or personal life?
So I'm not studying anymore, which is really great. Although, like, I do kind of courses here and there, like just to finish a coaching course and an expert by experience course. But personal life, I balance it pretty well, to be fair. Um, Obviously I'm not in traditional employment. I work for myself, which can be hard to like balance your personal life, but I try and give myself like quite a strict routine, especially in the mornings. Um, I try not to work on the weekends, although I am working today. But I mainly get away with that. Um, and fortunately as well, because I have some like friends in this space that I work in, that sometimes my personal life just overlaps with my work, and that's okay because I actually love what I do. Um so so yeah, but I do find it quite easy because I just absolutely love what I do.
Lovely. What's some of the key lessons you learned throughout your journey with the BreatheUnion?
I think the first one is that it's like okay to kind of not know what you're doing, and it's okay to kind of like fail as you go along. Um because failures also like led to so many like lessons and learnings, um and I think another thing is that as we were talking about impact earlier, like it's okay if you're just impacting a few people, like as long as that impact is like really like changing people's lives. And like I think you get so bogged down about like, oh, we've got to impact hundreds and thousands of people, and that can be like, then that can affect the quality of what you're doing. um So I think it's really is okay if like you're focusing on a small community of people, because actually the impact can be larger, if that makes sense. Um, what else did I learn? Yeah, the power of network. Like I would not have got anywhere close to where I got to without just the amazing people who like were there for me along the way, were there for each other along the way, like just like the beauty of the communities that were established.
What role do you see BreatheUnion playing in addressing mental health and well-being challenges amongst university students?
Being able to see like mental health as something that like everyone can play a part in kind of solving like the issues that we're seeing day to day, um and being able to do that in a really relatable way, um because we're having people who are like, because the whole point of Breathe Union is like students for students, learning from each other's experiences. So I think it's the idea that of how much you can learn about how to better yourself, um, through like learning from others, and how to better society through learning, um, about how to treat others, and learning that empathy as well, because you're talking about different topics that might not affect you. Like for example, if we were doing a workshop or an event around race and mental health, there's going to be people there from different ethnicities and different races who can like learn so much about cultures and people that they didn't know before. So I think it's that empathy piece, and then also that development piece as well, because you can learn kind of new techniques from others about how to better your own life.
What message would you like to share with the student community about the importance of prioritizing their mental health and well-being?
It's just everything. It's literally the foundation of who you are, and what you're capable of as well. Like the more your mental health is in check, or the more you're prioritizing your mental well-being, the more you'll be able to get done in every other area of your life. Like you'll probably be feeling better physically, you'll probably be feeling um kind of better when it comes to relationships as well. Like relationships are so important, whether it's families, partners, friends, work relationships, like those can only be more fruitful the better your mental health is. When it comes to work, again, you're going to be your best self at work if your mental health is kind of, yeah, if you have good mental health and you're able to kind of take control in that area and able to, whether it's you're having anxiety, even like having kind of depressive episodes or thoughts and feelings, like being able to understand your own mental health as well and be self-aware and understand when you are feeling different emotions, and then being able to know, okay, I can either help myself or I can go and find someone else who can help me as well. So that support aspect is really important.
One of your biggest achievements is being a finalist for Young Activist of the Year in 2022.
Hmm.
How did it, like, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
It's okay. How did it feel to be recognized for your incredible work?
Um, yeah, it's really great. I remember applying that January and just being like, my application's never gonna get picked. Like again, that imposter syndrome of like, oh, I'm just average Louise. Like I don't get things. Like I don't get recognition. I'm not that person. Um, the people I saw at school who were like, always the ones like achieving awards or being in the spotlight. I was like, that's just not me. But let me just apply anyway, and see what happens. But yeah, it was really nice to kind of get through to that. I think the first round was um oh yeah, assessment center, which is really actually really cool in terms of like um the you had to like talk about your social initiative, present that to, well, mine was Clifford Chance, which is a law firm. So that was really, really cool, getting to go to their offices, present the work that I'd done, have like an interview about it, and then also have like a kind of a challenge like that was unseen around like like kind of consulting on what you would do if you were the leader of a specific charity who had these specific problems. And then after that as well, then you got selected to be a finalist. So yeah, it was a long process as well. It wasn't just like you get nominated and then that's it. So I just felt really, really proud of myself. And um I think it's one of those things as well where I come from like a culture and a background where like being in the social impact space isn't something that you would want for your child, if that makes sense. Like my parents are just like, this is what is this? This is not a thing. So when they heard that as well, it's like another a piece of like, hey guys, I'm actually not just like flailing around. Yeah, I'm actually doing something that's important. And I know it shouldn't take that sort of recognition for people to understand that, but sometimes it actually does. So it's able to give like myself validation in that way with like my family and friends who didn't really understand what I was doing.
I feel like that's a struggle, especially in an ethnic household.
Hmm.
Being like, it's not a doctor, engineer, lawyer.
Yeah.
So what are you
So
doing?
what is it then? What are you?
Yeah, because like I don't it's like saying like, oh my God, you want to become an actress.
Literally.
You might as well that you and you're like get all this like, oh, well, you could have gone to university, did this, your degree's away, sort of. And you're like,
Yeah. I mean, even when I left and like I really started taking this like full time, my parents were just like, well, one, we can't really tell our friends what you do, so that's really annoying because we don't know how to explain it. So it's like we can't show you off sort of thing. And my dad was always like, so when are you gonna get a real job? And I'm like, this is a real job, but don't worry, it's okay. I think they're only starting to like really recognize now that like I can actually support myself and my future like in this career. It's not just like, yeah, like you said, it's not that I can like make money and have a livelihood whilst doing this work. I think they're just like, oh, charity, that means free.
I feel like it's like reputation and prestige is really
Mm,
important in ethnic households.
mm-hmm,
So like it's like we can't show you off.
mm,
It's just a really real.
mm.
But I feel like ethnic like parents like to show their children off for their
Yeah.
own.
Yeah, yeah. It's not about us, it's about them.
Mhm.
And the kind of then there's the social validation that they get from their like whoever their groups of friends are. So now I'm just like to my like I sent when I finished my website, I sent it to my dad and he was like, I was like, if anyone ever asks you what I do now, just send them this link. Don't worry about it.
Be like, you don't even need to talk. Like, and I feel like a website makes everything look more official.
Yeah.
And I feel like they'll be like, oh, look at this website. I have no idea what it is about,
Yeah.
but
But it's a
look, there's a
website.
website. Oh my God. And they'll be like, and they're like, you should have done this in the first place.
Mm.
So, what specific activism efforts that led you to your nomination as a finalist for Young Activist of the Year?
Um, I guess it was like starting an initiative that had a mission that was about like helping and supporting and empowering young people. Um, and that's what I was doing. I was like upskilling young people in terms of um like giving them training on how to lead workshops, giving them volunteering opportunities. Oh, I also partnered with a homeless charity called London Serenians, who I still do work for now, actually. And I was able to give young people like volunteering opportunities through that partnership as well. So, um, and I think I was also like in terms of kind of anti-racism, I was involved in um different like initiatives around that as well. So, yeah, but mainly it was about like empowering and supporting students.
What inspired you to become an activist? And how did you decide on the cause and all causes that you wanted to champion?
I think it just stems back from the podcast. The podcast that we first made was talking about kind of racism in the country and what can be done about that. Um, Something I'm really passionate about because of things that happened to me in my childhood. Um, and yeah, I think it was that first spark of like, oh my God, finally the world is talking about something that really matters to me and and understanding that I could use my voice. And that I felt like I actually had like I remember putting on Instagram just about what my thoughts and feelings and I had loads of people reach out to me from my teenage years being like, oh my gosh, like I didn't realize what you were going through and like this is really brave and powerful that you're putting your voice out there and stuff. So I think it was just that led me to be like, oh, I can take this further, and people actually care about what I have to say.
How do you believe youth activism plays a crucial role in driving social change in today's world?
Um, it plays a crucial role because when we're talking about social change, we have to think about the younger generation because they're going to be the people who have all the power and influence, um, as we just like move through kind of time and as we progress as a society. Um, but it's also about understanding that they have power and influence now through their experiences and the knowledge they have of um being a young person and the relationships that they have, whether it's like with their school or their communities or their friends, um, whatever it is. I feel like young people are such a driving force because they can give that experience to different organizations who are into who are able to like empower their voices even further, if that makes sense. And also young people know how to use social media very well. So they are great at also putting their own voices out there and getting the world to kind of listen to what they have to say.
Was there any like challenges or obstacles that you faced whilst pursuing your activism work, and how did you overcome them?
I think there were points where I was like wanted to give up. Um, there were points where I was just feeling very low, and very much like I just want to get a full-time job and just like and not think about all this stress anymore and not have to constantly like fight to kind of put myself out there and um yeah, I think that was hard. But something would always remind me that this is what I'm meant to do. Whether it was a conversation with someone else in my space who's having really sim like being on youth boards is really helpful because you're constantly talking to people who are like, hey, I feel you. Like, I get you. Please continue what you're doing. So yeah, I think having like a network of people who are constantly like uplifting you is something that has really helped me to like not give up. And then yeah, again, being able to connect with organizations who see like the work I want to do and are like, we want to work with you. Because I'm like, I can't get those opportunities if I just, go and get a full-time job in some random industry. So yeah, there are lots of things that kind of keep me going, but it's hard. It is hard.
In what ways do you believe your activism work is making a tangible difference in communities or difficulties you've been advocating for?
Being able to, because it's hard because I would say like when I was doing BreatheUnion as a student, it was more that activism piece, but now like this is my work, this is my profession, if that makes sense. So I don't know whether I'd still call myself an activist in that sense, um, because this is now like my whole career, if that makes sense. I think it just comes back to kind of people messaging me and feeling inspired to do this kind of work. I think that's, yeah, like having younger people message me and be like, hey, like what you're doing is really cool. Like I'd love to connect with you, or I'd love to pick your brain about this, or like I want to do work in this space. Like, how do I get involved? I think that's definitely it. Like seeing how um my activism inspires other people to kind of take up that mantle as well and pursue it, whatever it is that they're passionate about.
Have you collaborated with other activists who amplified your impact? If so, how did these partnerships strengthen your work?
Um, yes, I do it all the time. Like, with my like youth boards I've been a part of, like particularly Beyond Youth Board, we always collaborate as like a youth group of young activists, to kind of help the charity like succeed in its aims. Um, and even when I was at university with BreatheUnion, I know there was some like initiative called Black Voices. And Amira, who was the head of that, was also in the committee for BreatheUnion, so we were able to kind of like join forces to put on events, which was really amazing. Um, just being able to also like do podcasts with people as well, who have been in the space, and being able to like amplify their stories through conversations like that. Um, so yeah, I've collaborated with so many people in so many different ways. Like I spoke at a youth-led conference in summer, and I met so many young activists, and again being able to like have panel discussions, being able to have audience there who were like really interested in what we had to say. So yeah.
How do you use storytelling and personal narratives to connect with others and create empathy for your cause?
So for me, I feel like what my thing is, what I do as a speaker or as a storyteller, is I always want to make whatever I'm saying like really interactive. Um Obviously I use like kind of lived experience to grip people in to want to listen to what I have to say, but then I also want to ask them questions and get them to interact with whatever story I'm telling, so that I can get their feedback and their engagement from the get-go.
Do you have any role models or mentors who have influenced your activism journey? If so, how have they supported and guided you?
Yes, so this is all good stuff because I'm going to do a talk on imposter syndrome at school next week, and I'm like, this is part of my presentation, so I'm brushing up on what I'm going to be doing next week. But yeah, so I feel like I've had loads of mentors along the way, but ones that have stood out to me. So Frances Trout, who is the CEO of that organization I was telling you about earlier, Everything Diversity Inclusion. Um, she was really helpful for my journey in terms of always like connecting with me about things she was seeing I was doing, allowing me to like help her with her projects, and um asking me to kind of gather the students I knew to help um get more students on board with what she was doing, and she was just able to show me like what it's like to run like um a kind of social impact led organization. And yeah, so she's been an amazing person. Louisa Rose, who's the CEO of Beyond, has been an incredible mentor for me. Um, really just like showing me how to use my network, how to have the confidence to kind of message people for opportunities, how to put myself out there on social media and make it authentic to myself. Um, she's just been there through like whenever I've struggled, and like empowering me to just continue whatever I'm doing. Like she has been an official mentor, and also sometimes unofficially I'll just look at her and be like, yes, what would Louisa do? And then my cousin, Michael Tabaradi, who is the CEO and founder of the Mastery Group, who we've collaborated with in the past with BreatheUnion. And he has just again showed me what it's like to always strive for more, strive for better, to put yourself out there, to ask yourself the right questions, um, to get yourself in the right rooms, and to, I think, I think specifically for him, he showed me how to like use faith as well, to strengthen whatever I'm doing, which is something that I'm always trying to kind of get a better handle on. Um, so yeah, because there's not that many people who you know are quite like openly religious and will openly talk about how God helps them on their journey. So that's really inspiring for me.
How do you navigate the intersectionality of various social justice difficulties in your activism work
Um,
or your career?
yeah, so it's pretty easy because it all overlaps. Like I've realized any problems I've had always stem from like into quite intersectional experiences. So for example, my imposter syndrome talk is encompassing like the inequalities I faced as a woman, but also the inequalities I faced um for being a black woman, inequalities I faced from being a young black woman. So and then also thinking about how those experiences have led me to kind of persevere and be resilient as well. And also you can kind of tell by my mentors as well, like finding people in that space that can cross those intersectionalities, so I can kind of draw from their experiences and have those really like strong relatable role models in my life, to be able to like inform the work that I do. So yeah, intersectionality plays into like every aspect of what I do and what I talk about, and the messages that I'm sharing with, and whether it's on social media or whether it's like through workshops or talks or consultancy. So yeah.
It's like I feel like when people, what I don't understand is like, when people judge you for a woman, I'm like, it annoys me, but you know what annoys me more is the age. I'm like,
Mm.
my age just has nothing to do with my competencies.
Hmm.
Like literally, it's nothing to do with me. Like it doesn't affect the way I do things. I could be better than your 50-year-old colleague.
Mm.
Do you find that? How do you deal with that frustration?
Um, how do I deal with being a young person? I just try and use it to my advantage. I just try and be like, this is why you should want to work with me, because I'm young and because I can connect with people and because I can use social media and because of all the things that I like, as a young person. But um I also kind of draw on my experiences and my relationships with older people as well, to be like, hey, like, I can relate to you in some way because my dad or like my friend or my cousin, or do you know what I mean? So because I feel like the fear or like the the complications that come with that stigma around like being young and kind of not knowing what you're doing can kind of be, like you said, combated with like talking about experiences you've had with like older people and being like, I interact with loads of different people every single day, all the time. Like I'm gaining wisdom and experience from all of these people. Like I'm not just trying to be like, oh yeah, I can do everything myself, which is why I have mentors who are older and who just by the virtue of being older have will have more experiences. That makes sense.
That's a good piece of advice. I feel it resonates.
Mm.
What are some practical steps young individuals can take to start their journey in social entrepreneurship?
Um, personal brand. Personal branding is really important. And I'd start that with thinking about what values are most important to you and kind of going from there. Like, how are your values going to inform whatever work or innovation it is that you're trying to put out to the world? So yeah, personal branding, working on that constantly, finding mentors who are passionate or doing work in the same area that you're passionate or are doing work in. So yeah, personal branding, finding mentors. I like to do everything in threes. So probably then oh, sometimes you're gonna have to do things for free first before you can start charging for any services. Um, yeah. And sometimes that might last because sometimes it might be that you want to do like volunteering or charity work. But if you are trying to like build a business, or freelance or whatever it is, in order to like find those people who want to do work with you, you might have to like be in spaces where you're at a networking event, you didn't get paid to be there or something like that. So yeah.
Can you share any personal experiences or lessons you learned that could benefit aspiring social entrepreneurs?
Um, the first is remember why you're doing what you're doing. It can get really hard. You might be really anxious about everything that you're taking on, especially if you're fighting for a cause that's like gonna put a lot of emotional like strain on you. Um, it's gonna be tiring, it's gonna be overwhelming. But if you constantly, and it might not be again very monetarily rewarding at some points, but if you just remember why you're doing what you're doing, um, whether it's writing it down, journaling, finding that experience that you had 2 Tuesdays ago when you were like, oh, that was like the most amazing conversation. That filled me with so much joy and so much love. Like holding on to those moments and those memories um, will allow you to kind of keep going when it feels like you don't want to do it anymore.
How important is it for aspiring social entrepreneurs to have a deep understanding of the social issues they want to address?
Um, so important. Um, And for me, I do like a lot of work based on lived experience. So I guess it was like understanding myself, again, my intersectional experience and how that informs the work I do. But it's also really important for me to like do research, whether that's going to conferences, again, learning from mentors, researching. The internet is free. There's so much research that you can do, and there's so many research organizations that will be very tailored to whatever you're interested in. So yeah, you're going to be constantly learning every single day, and that is so important to be able to be an effective social entrepreneur.
What are some key considerations when it comes to identifying a target audience or beneficiaries for a social enterprise?
Um, Again, this is just kind of like scoping out, yeah, like who you want to impact, because you can think about it from like a B2C standpoint. You might want to be going directly to the beneficiaries, um, whether it's kind of if you're thinking more like from a community aspect, like putting on things for the community, or you can go through a different route, go B2B and find an institution or an organization that has the people that you're going to want to kind of impact, and then asking them to collaborate so that you already have those people there. So you can go straight to the people. You can go through an institution first. So thinking about those two ways, and maybe you want to do both, maybe you only want to do one. And then again, thinking about who those beneficiaries are. Sometimes you can have, multiple beneficiaries. Sometimes you just have like a really specific target audience, but yeah.
Can you provide insights into the process of developing a sustainable business or organization model for a social enterprise?
Um, think about how you want to set up your business. So me, I work for myself, so I'm self-employed. Louise, am the business, so that gives me a lot of freedom in terms of having more of a portfolio career, doing lots of different types of work, but again, with that kind of mission um of empowering people to drive positive change fearlessly, and to understand themselves and the world around them. I can do that in so many different ways. But some people might have a different way or a different mission, which requires them to, establish a CIC, which will be an organizational model where you take 50% of the profit, but then you have to put 50% of it back into the business. Or you can be a charity where kind of all of you don't make profit from running a charity, all of it goes back into the business. Or you can be a limited company and kind of profit for purpose as well, which some organizations are doing. But yeah, there's so many ways to go about doing what you're doing.
How can aspiring social entrepreneurs effectively balance their social mission with the need to generate revenue and sustain their ventures?
Yeah, grants, that can be one way. Usually grants are given to, again, CICs or charities or founders of those who are just starting up. But you can get a CIC if you're starting a limited sorry, you can get a grant even if you're starting a limited company. They're just rarer, so that's one way to be able to sustain yourself. Um, Another way is, again, just like building up a clientele, building up a services that you're like generating income from, like weekly or monthly or however it is. Sometimes you might have to get a part-time job to be able to sustain whatever you're doing until such time as you're able to make a sustainable amount of money from your business venture.
What are some effective strategies for building partnerships and collaborations within the social entrepreneurship ecosystem?
Um, LinkedIn.
Yes.
So posting on LinkedIn, um, connecting with people on LinkedIn, and posting about things that you know are going to attract the type of people that you want to work with. And again, that's the same for other social medias like Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever it is. Um, Going to networking events, where you get to be in the same room as those people you want to connect with. And again, having the confidence to go up to them and be like, whatever you said touched me. Whatever you said really resonated with me. I would love to work with you. Please can I have your email or your LinkedIn? Um, so yeah, being in the spaces where you're going to meet those people. Um, and yeah, using the network you have to then connect you with other people as well. So even if it's just, two or three people that you know, always ask them for advice. And if you are looking for a mentor, that can be really great. They're always really great at connecting you with people because they have already established themselves within that space.
What are some common challenges or roadblocks that aspiring social entrepreneurs may face, and how can they overcome them?
One might be money, and again, overcoming that, like I've said before, whether it's getting a part-time job, whether it's getting grants to be able to sustain what you're doing, and whatever it is, yeah, money's always a roadblock for anyone who's aspiring to do pretty much anything. That's not free. Um, roadblocks may be themselves, like a mental roadblock. I know I was absolutely terrified to do content um for ages because I was like, oh, I don't want to be that person who constantly putting my life out there. But um I was able to one, learn how to do it pretty easily, to be fair, YouTube. And my incredible boyfriend who is just amazing at content and was really able to help teach me how to do things and also teach me how to um again along with Louisa, my mentor, like be authentic in what I was putting out and being consistent as well with what I was putting out. So that's just an example of like a mentor or a book you might have. But again, it's finding people that are going to hold you accountable, and are gonna maybe even like help challenge you or do things with you so that you're not feeling so alone, when you're doing it. So again, another roadblock is gonna sometimes you're gonna feel really alone, in what you're doing. So it's really important to reach out to those people, um, that are doing similar things to you. You can that one way of doing that is like joining, like I said, I was on a business incubator. So incubators for like aspiring founders are really amazing because that's just like a guaranteed community of people that are going to be doing like similar stuff to what you're doing and want to help you succeed and want to help themselves succeed through relationships with you as well.
What are some key skills or qualities that aspiring social entrepreneurs should develop to succeed in this field?
Um, Authenticity.
Definitely.
People can tell straight away if you are not doing what you're doing. Sorry, if you're doing what you're doing for the wrong reasons. So yeah, like do what you're doing because you care, because you're passionate, because this is something that you could, again, like I said, see yourself doing for free. So authenticity and probably relatability as well. Um, like people always trust people who they can relate to in some sort of way. So being able to have that relatability to whoever your target audience is, and resilience, because things are going to knock you down. Sometimes it's going to feel like you're moving in the wrong direction or no direction at all. But being able to, like I said, hold on to that thing that reminds you why you're doing what you're doing and keep going forward.
Amazing. Can you discuss the importance of resilience and adaptability in the journey of an aspiring social entrepreneur?
Yeah, yeah. Adaptability is so important. Um, when I was like starting Breathe Uni, I had to be so adaptable to anything that was happening, like not being able to get the society off the ground because of obstacles from the bureaucracy of the student union. And I had to be adaptable in how to like where I could conduct workshops, if there were restrictions on that, and who I could work with. And even when I thought, okay, like maybe Breathe Uni isn't like gonna be exactly what I need it to be right now, but how can I still build a career doing what I'm doing? I had to be so adaptable. I had to completely change um what I was marketing, who I was marketing. Before it was an initiative, now it's me. So yeah, but being adaptable, but still around those core values that you're staying true to.
How can aspiring social entrepreneurs stay motivated and overcome self-doubt during challenging times?
Have like a bank of achievements. I remember my mentor, Louisa, she made me write down like 10 things that I'd achieved in my notes on my phone. And sometimes I just look at that and I'm like, go away, self-doubt. Look at how great I am. Like, look at what I've done. That means I'm going to be able to do the next thing. Um, so you've actually just like triggered me to do that because I'm a bit nervous for my talk next week. So I'm gonna have to look back at talks I've done previously and
Do
been
you
like,
add on to the list?
no, I haven't actually, but I will. I should. Or I might actually change it because I maybe want to keep it at 10, but
Mm.
maybe I'll swap out some things that are a bit old and put a new one in. Um, so yeah, having a list of achievements. Maybe it doesn't have to be like a bullet point list, it can be a visual. It can be like a literally like pictures of things that you've done that you can look at and be like, great, I'm great. What is even self-doubt? I don't need self-doubt in my life. It's not going to get me anywhere. So yeah, that's and meditation as well. I've had a new trick. I used to meditate in the mornings, but I actually think meditating before going to bed is much more beneficial to me because I tend to like, I don't know, talk to myself in my dreams. And if I meditate before that, my dreams will be more positive.
So lovely. Looking back at our conversation, what is the most important takeaway or message you want our audience to remember?
Um, I said it like 3 times now, but yeah, whenever you're feeling like you're an imposter, like you can't go forward with what you want to do, like everything feels out of place, hold on to those memories, those experiences, um, that you've had that remind you why you're doing what you're doing.
How do you hope this episode will impact or resonate with our listeners?
Um, I hope people will look at this, compare it to like my profile, whether it's my website or my LinkedIn or my Instagram or whatever, and be like, oh, she's just like trying like I am, because we're all just trying. And whenever you see people that you like look up to, you're always like, oh, they must have everything figured out, and like I just want to be them. And no, comparison is the thief of joy. So I want everyone to know that I'm just a regular schmegular 23-year-old just trying out here, and doing what I love, which is amazing. And I also want you to know that you can do what you love as well.
Are there any upcoming projects, events, or resources you'd like to share with our audience?
Yes, so I'm going to be speaking at the Future Me, Future Youth Conference on the 6th of March 2024. I believe it starts from 4 o'clock and it is at the Plexel Centre here in East London. So be there if you're just anyone in the community. There's going to be like panels, so I'm on the panel. There's going to be roundtable discussions, looking at some really interesting topics about like whether to go to university or take a gap year or do an apprenticeship or just go straight into work. We're going to be thinking about the cost of living crisis. We're going to be thinking about so many topics that are affecting young people. So, and there's going to be, again, loads of professionals who have been doing things for a very long time who can give you some amazing advice. So be there.
Be there or be square. Never
Be
said
there.
that in my life. You know what? As you were speaking, I was Googling it and I was like, I'm getting myself a fucking ticket.
Yeah,
I'm getting myself a ticket. And it's free. So you don't even have to pay. All you have to think about is transportation.
exactly.
Is it and also it says there's free tasty food. It was one of those 5 points. That's not free food. Like people get your act together and go to this event.
hmm
Is there anything else you like to add or any final thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Um, no, other than that, this has been a really lovely conversation. And it's made me feel so much better about like future things that I'm going to be doing, and it's given me the space to remind myself of all the kind of advice that I'm giving right now and to be able to implement that advice myself. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure. What is finally last question, don't worry. What is one thing that you're grateful for today?
uh my little cousin, because he's here and I'm looking after him, um and he's just a little bundle of love and joy. So yeah, my little cousin.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Throughout our discussion, we've delved into, the world of social entrepreneurship and explored various aspects of making a positive impact in our communities. We talked about the importance of inclusive initiatives and the role and strategies of brand building and measuring social impact. And I want to extend, a most heartfelt thank you to you, Louise, for the generosity of sharing your valuable insights and experiences. Your expertise and passion truly shined through like the screen.
Thank
Uh,
you so much.
it's okay. And we're grateful for the knowledge that you brought to our podcast. As we conclude, I want to encourage all of our listeners to take action and make a difference in their own communities, whether it's starting a social enterprise, supporting existing ones, or simply spreading awareness about important causes. Each of us has the power to create positive change. Remember, even small actions can have a ripple effect and lead to impactful outcomes. So, stay iconic until I see you next time.